Now no one wants to speak.
I would have put a nice frock on if I'd have known.
We'll just wait for the others and let them in. You all right, Julie?
Oh, hi, Joe. Yeah, sorry, I was trying to get my volume right. Couldn't hear anybody. Yeah, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Good.
Some friendly faces. Olivia, you do. Have we seen you before?
We have met just once on the supervision. Hi.
Oh, yeah, I remember now. Welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, I'll just be letting everyone in.
Your hair looks nice, Joe.
Oh, because I haven't had it cut. This is going to be on the video, Julie. I haven't had it cut, so I've gone back curly again because it's got too long.
It's nice.
Oh. How's everyone doing in lockdown?
Fed up.
Yeah.
I'm at the end of my tether now.
Anyone else fed up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feel like I'm burning out now.
I'm fed up of homeschooling. It's absolutely... I'm not a teacher.
That's going to come up tonight, Dan, in the case study, homeschooling.
Don't know how you do it.
Neither do I.
No.
We used to have a lovely relationship, me and my daughter.
My daughter says to me, thank God I'm older.
There we go. What cleared in? How are you, Tracy?
I'm not so bad, thank you. I've had a tiring evening, so I was just tired thinking, can I make it through 2 hours of training now?
Well, you're still here. Well done.
Might have to mute myself in case I fall asleep and start snoring.
Yeah.
We'll keep an eye on you. Give you a little nudge.
Did you used to do the CNN meetings, Tracy?
I did, yeah.
I remember you.
Ah, yes.
I
I was a familiar face there for a while.
I was looking at you last time. We were on something. I thought, I know your face, and I've just thought, oh, I know where it's from. Yeah. You used to help run them, didn't you?
I did, yeah, for quite some time. Yeah, good few years. I had to take a step back with just everything else that's going on, really. So, yeah, I mean, just before all of this malarkey. So it was, yeah, I do plan to go back actually when we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, find a little bit of time, I hope. Yeah, I thought I recognised your name actually. I was thinking you were somebody else. I'm thinking I definitely know the name. I don't know it from. So that's, yeah, solve that mystery.
That's where it is.
Useless with faces, but all right with names. Me.
I'm the opposite way around, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Terrible.
Embarrassing.
I once bumped into my granddad in a shopping centre and I thought, I know his face, but I couldn't think where I knew him from.
That's how bad I am. 5 past, and then we're gonna start, and everyone else I'll let in who's running late as we go. There's a couple more minutes and we'll get going. So what are you expecting from this one tonight? Anyone got any expectations?
Just to learn a little bit more, kind of about like kind of lockdown and as it is kind of self-esteem and stuff like that.
Okay. Anyone else? Thanks, Dan. No, we're all just winging it.
It's just winging it. See what happens.
All right. Okay, we'll get going. I'm going to share the screen. If anyone's got any comments or anything, we're going to use the chat at the side again. So if there's anything that you want to ask as we're going through, rather than write it down or try and remember it, pop it in there, and then hopefully we'll have time at the end. Okay?
Okay.
Go. Okay.
Have you gone? Have I clicked something?
No, can you see the screen, the PowerPoint?
Oh, is it a
Julie?
PowerPoint? Schedule made easy.
Yeah.
I thought I'd click something and took myself away from.
Oh, okay. So we're going to look at tonight the impact of isolation during the pandemic on low self-esteem and our inner critic. Okay, so we're going to explore the effects of isolation during the pandemic and on self-esteem and the inner critic. And by tonight, we're going to develop an understanding of working integratively to explore the impact of isolation on self-esteem and the inner critic. We're going to do that by presenting a case study of a client that I've done during lockdown. We're going to demonstrate attachment to theory and interventions that are used to work to explore at a deeper level. But I think more importantly with this one, what I wanted to focus on was evaluate the impact of isolation during the pandemic on our own personal and professional lives as counsellors. Because I think while we've worked during the lockdown, we've also gone through the same as what our clients are bringing. And I think tonight, this client brought so many different issues that we related back to that were triggers, that it may bring some awareness for some of us. It did me during that I took to supervision. Okay, so this isolation, I just thought it was nice. It's simple, without relation to other people or things separately. And I think we've all felt this, you know, even if we are going out to work, the isolation brings, you know, families are fractured, friendships are fractured, people who are working from homes, clients are isolated from everybody that they know, even their work colleagues, and that feeds right into this client case study that we're going to bring tonight. We also just wanted to share this because I think this is some children's poetry through lockdown, and I think it just gives a fresh perspective. Worked with a lot of children during the pandemic in lockdown, in care. So this is just some poetry that I found. So this is Lincoln, and then 11 from the UK. It says, "When it is safe, I'll hold my arms open wide and shout to the world we can all go outside. Don't give up hope, the end is in sight. If we all stick together, we'll all win this fight." I think it's a fresh piece of eyes on it. And this is Isabel from Scotland. These have all been published in a book that someone's put together. So here comes the coronavirus monster, all slimy and gooey. When he comes around, we all turn gloomy. He uses us to infect others and doesn't stop with sisters and brothers. What are your thoughts on the children's perspective? Does anyone, what did you think of those two poems? Anyone?
Hello, Joe, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
It's Debbie Vega. I didn't think I was in. Sorry, am I in?
Yeah, you're in.
Yes.
Okay.
Poetry, that's what I've just seen. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. What did you think?
Yeah, it's really fascinating from the young people's point of view because they're all off school and they can't really go outside. And I've noticed, especially with my grandchildren, how it's really affecting them, especially sports and, you know, the activities they do out of school as well.
Yeah.
That's having an impact on them as well. And home learning, it's distance learning. It's very difficult, isn't it?
It is. And I think, you know, it's hard, again, I think for the parents, it's hard again because they've got to manage all of this.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
How's your family managing it? Debbie, how's your daughter managing it?
Well, my parents are isolating, so and my daughter's got 3 children of school, but she is a teacher, so even said it's a struggle for her, and she's a teacher, so
she's struggling.
Yeah, so she's got 3 laptops on, and you know, she even said it's difficult, it's really hard.
Yeah.
Just it's just on all the children's mental health because they can't do anything and missing friends as well, all the little connections with the friends and stuff.
I think it's just seeing it from that point of view just puts a different perspective. I think with the children, that's what I feel.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's move on. So what I wanted to kind of go through, I want you to just look at some of these questions. I want us to try and really not just make it all about clients tonight. I'd like us to be able to have this discussion, because I think for us, I just want you to think about, have you felt the effects personally or professionally from isolation during the pandemic on you? So just some questions, and if any jump out at you, I just want you to jot it down and we can discuss it at the end. So how has isolation felt for you? How has it affected you emotionally, physically, or mentally? Have you been triggered by past feelings, especially ones you feel you've worked through or processed during your training? Because I know a lot of the supervisees and colleagues that I've spoke to during each of the lockdowns, or the whole year, to be perfectly honest, it's brought up a lot of stuff that people felt like they worked on in their personal development during training, or that they've had therapy for in the past, and they've been triggered again by it for different reasons. How have you managed your work-life balance? Because I know for a lot of us, we're all working from home, especially our clients are in our homes with us if we're in the house. Have your professional boundaries been impacted if you're working from home? Does anyone feel like they're working earlier, working later, doing work that they would normally leave in the office or the counselling room? Have you heard or felt your own inner critic, you know, about how you're managing the isolation? And do you feel your self-esteem is diminished in parts throughout lockdown? And lastly, has your confidence as a therapist lapsed at any time during the pandemic? That's a big one that I've picked up on from colleagues. You know, I've felt it myself, because it feels like it's a never-ending cycle. You know, we're not actually, all we're doing is working and living. No one's having fun, you know. And it's just kind of like, am I making a difference? What am I doing this for? All those questions. So just take a second. You can pick more than one question, but it'd be interesting to see at the end people's views on this, and also if anything in this case study kind of triggers anybody to think that they've been dealing with this as well. Okay?
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, so how feelings of isolation can impact. So I'm going to look at Linda. Linda is 52 years old. She was a social worker for 27 years and a team manager. She had 3 children, 3 boys, 13, 15 and 17, and was married. She had great professional boundaries and a really good work-life balance. She had loads of close friends who she used to see at least once a week, and she has a close relationship with her husband's family. So when Linda presented in therapy, Linda presented anxious and overwhelmed, burnt out, stressed, and very emotional. Relationships at home were becoming aggressive and arguments had become daily routine. So aggressive in the sense of screaming. So they were all screaming at each other, to the point where she was storming out. Her husband would storm out and they'd go for walks separately. The kids would storm out. And it was a boiling point when she came to therapy. Linda was fearful her marriage was in trouble. Linda's relationships with all the 3 boys, her sons, were breaking down. She felt lonely and was missing her relationship with her friends. They were talking on the phone and doing Zooms. She said they'd do Zooms weekly, you know, quizzes and things, but that kind of fell off the longer it went on. Linda's work schedule was impacting home life, and she was working with no lunch, and some nights she'd work till 8 o'clock. Linda's narrative, her self-narrative, was negative and dismissive of herself and others. And Linda felt like a failure and was fearful every day that she was going to get the call, "You're fired." She just, because she couldn't see any kind of how her daily work was impacting others, she felt it wasn't good enough, and she just thought her whole team were failing and she would get fired for it. So working integratively, we formed a foundation of person-centered. We then went on to explore different parts of psychodynamic, drama triangle, personal construct theory. We looked at some TA, some compassion-focused therapy, and cognitive behavioural therapy. And I'm going to go through and just go through how we brought that in at each point briefly. So person-centered, I'm going to go through these in a lot more detail as we carry on. Person-centered, we built the therapeutic relationship with core conditions, with a lot of reflection and hearing her own world back. Using immediacy with Linda because she was so in the moment and emotional when talking about her childhood, which I'll go into later. Her story was really difficult for her to say out loud, and when she presented, she had no idea her story would be the most important part of her therapy. We looked at psychodynamic defense mechanisms. There was many at play, the childhood memories and relationships. And when we looked at drama triangle, we explored her starting gates and how she responds to members of her family as reactive rather than responsive. And how to become empowered. We looked at the winning triangle, which I'll go into more detail later, and how to choose not to enter the drama triangle. We looked at TA and explored her ego states when thinking and her feelings about herself, which we kind of incorporated with the drama triangle. With the drama triangle, explored past relationships in childhood and triggers that have unconsciously centered into ego state reactive responses. We looked at her constructs and explored the messages she received from family, society, organizations, and relational, and how they may have unconsciously triggered reactions due to feeling isolated and not in control or feeling independent. CBT, we explored and looked at some of her shoulds, needs, ought, and musts. Her irrational and rational thinking, and her negative automatic thoughts. And we entered the therapy on CFT, and we looked at self-soothing, and very important for Linda was the compassion cycle. So just briefly how we looked at shoulds, needs and must. We used the should list. If nobody's got or used a should list before and you want one, just let me know and we can get one emailed out to you. So during our first 4 sessions, I noticed Linda repeating the word should and need repeatedly in a dialogue, always talking about herself, and some of them kind of had a massive impact on triggers that come from childhood. We explored her inner critic and her core beliefs in moments of child ego and critical control and parent states. And then we looked at that in the role of victim within a drama triangle. So some of her shoulds was, I should know better. I cannot cope, I'm falling apart, should be strong. I'm pathetic. I should be a better mother. I should be able to manage my time. I need to manage my emotions. I'm an adult. I'm a failure. I'm worthless. I can't get anything right. And I'm a failure as a wife. So just hearing all these shoulds, the ones without should in the sentence were the ones that were not hers. So she was feeling should from other places. And this is where personal constructs come in, because there are rules for living that we kind of attain as we're growing older, and they come from all of those different parts, society, organisations, family, etc. So we started to break them down and look at some of them. We then went on to look at her core beliefs. If no one's got also a core belief worksheet and you'd like one, it's a really good one that I used with Linda. The ones in red are the ones that she highlighted off the sheet. So she said, I'm unacceptable. She feels she didn't matter. She felt alone. Nobody loves me. I'm inferior. I'm worthless, I'm a bad person, I'm useless, I'm a failure, there's something wrong with me, I don't measure up to others, I'm always wrong, I'm not good enough. So first of all, we kind of explored, you know, if she previously had great personal boundaries, great relationships, felt happy, what was the trigger? So Linda's core beliefs were triggered by her feelings of feeling trapped, lonely, rejected, and overwhelmed when being isolated. And during the person-centered and psychodynamic phase of the integrative approach, Linda explored her childhood. So when she told me her story, when we were kind of building the foundation and working person-centered, her story really solidified exactly why she'd ended up in therapy. So Linda was in foster care from the age of 2 years old. She never knew her birth parents, and Linda was never adopted, and she moved through 5 foster homes. Linda was determined to succeed and have the life that she deserved. Putting herself through college and university, she became a social worker so she could help the children who she felt needed support and have someone to care about them like she never did. And she said her goal was to become the person that she never had. Linda had grown up feeling unwanted and unloved, rejected by her birth family. She'd felt trapped in a system that she felt was cold and uncaring. Linda was determined to create a life she dreamt of, a loving family, a loving marriage, and a successful career. And she said, up until March, life was amazing and I don't recognise myself anymore. I'm losing my family. So as an integrative therapist at this point, at the beginning of therapy, I was thinking straight away, so if this is the life that she had, and this is the life that she had before COVID, she said, I had great family, great relationships, and so on. What had changed? So straight away, that's where the core beliefs, personal constructs come for me to be able to explore that. Because it was, I identified that she was being triggered. So working with the shoulds, needs and musts and all twos. This is just a little example of kind of one of the ones that we explored. So should be able to manage my life better. So first of all, with Linda, I kind of reflected better because it was important to know what she felt was better, whether it was hers or whether it was what she thinks everybody else was doing. She's explained that as organised in work and at home, to keep calm, be there for her kids, her husband, support her kids in work and their carers as well as her team. So basically look after everybody else except herself. So this is the only time I would ever use why in therapy. It means to justify, but with the should list, it's important to ask why aren't you, why haven't you, etc. So she stated she didn't have time, but she doesn't understand why. I don't have any motivation. I feel sad and anxious every day. Feel ashamed and guilty in every part of her life. For me, it was then to explore, to look for the evidence. So what's changed? Even though it was glaringly obvious. Global pandemic. Working from home, kids homeschooling, husband working from home, not seeing friends and family, lack of independence and control of life, scared of illness, and a fear of losing the people she loved. For me, I heard the dream life that she had and stated had been taken since March 2020, that she created. And I was wondering whether that was making her feel like the child who felt trapped again, a failure and not good enough. We then attached some of the core beliefs that she had highlighted that had triggered back to this child. So her core beliefs were her inner child. I'm worthless, I'm unlovable, I'm a failure, there's something wrong with me, I don't measure up, I'm always wrong, I'm not good enough, I'm alone, I don't matter, I'm inferior. Oh, just go back. So what that identified for us to be able to then explore was Just 1 minute. I just want to go back and show you where they were. Okay, so all of these ones were the ones that she had as the child while she was in care. What we then took from this was that the feelings of isolation, the lack of independence, the lack of control had triggered all of her feelings that connect to this. So her worthlessness, unlovable and failure both came in as mum and as team manager. Something wrong with me was massive on social media. She felt everybody else was doing an amazing job, ticking all the boxes, amazing teacher at home for the kids and winning at life, doing a full-time job. Same as I don't measure up. The always wrong was that she felt she couldn't make her family happy, whether she worked till 8 o'clock or finished at 4 p.m. She didn't feel she was being a good mum, so therefore not good enough. She felt alone because of all the arguing. She felt that they didn't matter, and she felt like she was inferior of every other woman who she knew. So being another big one for her we explored was I should be a great mother, which the should automatically sends the message that we've failed, and therefore comes guilt and shame. So why aren't you a good mother? So we explored this, and she said she couldn't commit to homeschooling fully. So we always look for the evidence. So because you're working full time from home, and she would respond with, I'm not giving them the time they need for me in the evenings. So she switched then straight away, because you're feeling your childhood core beliefs are triggering failure, so you're proving yourself to be better. So kind of always looking for the evidence that she is kind of reflected while you've been working through her story. Are they asking for all this? Are they suffering? This is the children. Are they getting schoolwork completed? Are they eating? Are they bathing? All of the answers were obviously yes. Are they happy and okay? And then she stated she got it and could gives choice. So she knows she could be a better mother, but at the moment, I'm doing my best under the circumstances and my kids are happy and safe. And she was doing enough. It took us a long while to get to that, because for Linda, the evidence was distorted by her inner critic, her low self-esteem, her fear of failure that had been kind of drummed into her from organisational constructs of kids in care don't do well, you're not going to come to nothing, and so on. But we got there in the end, and there could be a better mother, even though for me personally, I felt that she was doing an amazing job. She felt that she was more present before lockdown, which I would think a lot of mothers who are trying to look after 3 children would agree. But she wasn't recognising what she was doing. So this worked great for her. We then looked at whose is the should. And the should was not hers. It was coming from the rule book that doesn't exist, that she felt every other person was kind of winning at life and ticking every box. You know, she talked about her friends were going through the same things, but social media says otherwise. You know, other parents she spoke to said they were doing an amazing job. So a lot of shame come around it, because all she wanted to be in her whole life was a great mother. So we ended up coming to the conclusion that this should wasn't hers. Her children were happy and she was a great mother. We then went on to look at some personal construct theory, and we looked at a familiar construct. So some of hers were extremely distorted due to the fact that she was in care. So her family rules where family doesn't come first, because she didn't. Families don't love each other, because she was given away and she wasn't adopted. You're in the family because we get paid. That was a very clear message that she got from all 5 foster homes, she stated. And relational constructs where don't get attached and you will be let down. So every time she felt she got close to people and friends, they left her on that, and she says that's from her earliest memory. Trust nobody. And her societal constructs where there is something wrong with her because she was in care and she got bullied in school because of that. You're not going to come to much. So kids in care end up getting in trouble. That's what her message was sent. And organisational. So this was the care homes for her, the foster homes and social services. Was shut up and put up. That was a clear one that she felt all the time. You're in the system and you're on your own. I think what the biggest element of construct theory for Linda was is that when we actually went through these, what she hadn't realised is she'd unconsciously reconstructed them all. So her familiar constructs were family is going to be the most important thing for her. So all of them were gone. She'd rewrote them. Her relational, she'd met the love of her life. He was her best friend. She had a really good friendship group, so she'd rewrote them. Societal, there's something wrong with you, you won't come to much. She put herself through college and university and was the team manager. And her organisational was shut up and put up, you're on your own, you're in the system. What she made her life was to make sure that she'd never be on her own, that she'd always have good relationships. However, with her core beliefs being triggered in her inner child, all of these near enough had come back. So in her family, with all of the arguing, she felt that family doesn't come first and we don't love each other. All of this was unconscious for Linda. Trust no one because she was felt let down by her husband. Societal, she did feel like there was something wrong with it again. And she did feel on her own. So this was a huge piece of work for Linda because she realised that she was responding on core beliefs that were unconscious that had been triggered again during the pandemic. We looked at some of her defence mechanisms that she was using. Repression was a massive one. When she talked about her life in care and what it was like, and she went into great detail about the 5 foster homes and the people that were nice and the people who were not very nice at all. But when she said people ever asked her about it, she always said that it was amazing. So she just pretended like it never happened. She regressed, she projected, she rationalised, and we went through these attaching all different elements of not her life before lockdown, but how she was using these within lockdown. So this was a really good piece of work to do with that. And these were also, we could attach to a negative automatic thoughts. We looked at the drama triangles. We explored in depth the trauma triangles that she kind of fell into just by being in the care system and in the foster homes that she was. She felt a lot of the time, she felt the victim, but she said she felt like she was treated like the persecutor in a lot of them. So we looked at the 3 roles presently with her, and she felt that she was going through victim to rescuer to persecutor, just with herself. With this, with the family, she would feel in victim, and because she was in victim, she would try to, or she would see it, she would automatically go to rescue her sons, who then saw her as the persecutor, because the reality was, by the end of therapy, her sons were fine, that her husband was fine. This was all in her. It was her drama triangle, and she was dragging everybody in with her. She then would go to, and the family reflected this to her as she was in therapy and was sharing a lot of this with them, that they saw her as the persecutor a lot of the time because she was the problem. She was the one who didn't feel good enough and was overcompensating and then impacting all of them. We also looked at her starting gate, so the reason she went into the drama triangle, and identified, and she gave me awareness that because of her being triggered as a child with all her core beliefs and constructs from childhood, that she automatically went in as victim because of her don't feel good enough, worthless, and so on. And she got really annoyed doing drama triangle with herself, because she said even though she didn't relate it to theory, she spent her whole life trying to leave the drama triangle of the broken child in care. So it was a massive piece of awareness for Linda. We then looked about stepping out to the drama triangle, and we looked at the ego states, so parent, adult, child, and in the previous drama triangle, she was going into drama triangle as child, adapted child, or controlling or critical parent. Stepping out of the drama triangle and responding in adult rather than reacting, we looked at about it feeling vulnerable, and that it's actually so empowering rather than a weakness. We looked at nurturing rather than rescuing, and assertiveness rather than persecution, and using I statements. We did some work on that as well. This really helped to start to manage and fix the issues with her sons and her husband at home. We went on to look at some compassion focused therapy at the end, and Linda had done so much work on becoming aware of why she had felt more sensitive, as she put it, during lockdown than other people. She hadn't considered that any of her early life experiences could be triggered in any way by a pandemic. And when we looked at the feelings the pandemic had on her, the isolation, the lack of self-worth and self-esteem, and her inner critic, she became to realise that she wasn't alone, and most people were going through this but didn't realise, and that it was coming out in behaviours rather than understanding. So we began looking at the threat system, and this kind of helped to make sense. So her threat system was alerted by the negative core beliefs being triggered, her constructs from childhood that she'd reconstructed being triggered, and so on. She'd always had a drive system, but because of the threat, she'd lost it. The one thing that was not there at all was Linda's soothing system. So it was really, really important for us to look at that, to help her feel safe and connected with herself. So that's what we went on to do. So we looked at self-soothing, that looked at the things that makes her feel better. For her, it was going out for walks. So during the day, she would take lunch, and she arranged. They all come together as a family and arrange to have lunch together in between school and work. And her and the husband would go for, even if it was 10 minutes, they'd go for a walk together. That's something that she tried to do in the evening, but she did put boundaries in, and she finished work at 6 o'clock. She started a gratitude journal just to be able to remember who she was presently and not remember who she used to be. She took, great joy, I think, in having that awareness of her triggers, because she said she felt now that she controlled her childhood didn't control her. Recognizing her emotions and pausing. So, she's still going to get frustrated, she's still going to get angry, but she was now stopping for a moment and just doing kind of a checkup from the neck up, really, of, is this about what's happening right now, or is this about how I'm feeling? And that had a great impact on her relationships at home. Goal and behaviour setting. So a big one was to be compassionate for herself. So what was she going to do? What did she want out of her weekends? She'd put her laptop away and not get it out until Monday morning. all of the things that for self-compassion, but also she tried to encourage this on her husband too, so that he could switch off, because they were both working from work and it was getting stressful for both of them. And we looked at this cycle. Mindfulness wasn't really for Linda. She didn't really want to do that, but she did kind of like to be present while she was walking. She didn't really want to do kind of different guided meditation or anything, but she did work on being more mindful outdoors while she was there. Okay, so I'm just gonna stop sharing and come back. So what are your thoughts on working integratively that way? Has anyone got any questions? Just put your hand up if you have, so I can see. What did you think of Linda's story?
Reminiscent actually of quite a number of clients. It's definitely highlighted stuff for me actually, that that people are coming in because suddenly things are they're just so much worse than they were before, and because of COVID, but not really being able to relate that to why, really. And a lot of it is coming down to childhood stuff, core beliefs, triggers, definitely. So yeah,
I agree, Tracy. And I think with Linda's story, she was so amazed the fact that how she was feeling would have anything to do with anything from childhood. She was over that. It was done. It was gone. You know. Is anybody else getting anybody who's going through some, I've really, for Linda, it was quite traumatic. And she felt over the top was one of the words. She said, how come I'm like this and other people seem to be managing? There was no awareness that any of her previous life experiences would impact how she felt during the global pandemic.
Yeah, I'm hearing that, Jo. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm working with couples, and I actually had a session with them today. And the pandemic, because they're both working from home, they've got a 2-year-old, and last week was really challenging because the key workers, the baby's in nursery, so there was a COVID outbreak, so the child was off, and they were trying to manage that. And when they came today, they were quite frazzled, and all of a sudden she just started talking about like when she was a child, how her mum had died when she was young and how she couldn't cope, and she started connecting, like being sort of locked in and out of control. She had that felt last week, and now that's the first time she's ever brought anything like that up, because they came to work on the marriage to start with, been working through what they're bringing to the relationship each, when we bring our own baggage into it and then blame each other, and that sort of came up out the blue. And she said, and she had a word to her, this bloody pandemic, I feel like we're all locked in. And so we started exploring that a little bit, going back to how she was brought up when she lost her mum, and she never really connected the way she feels as an adult with anything to do with the background.
Wow. So what's your plan, Debbie? What work are you going to do?
Well, I was going to try and do some inner child work with her on that, around that. And then we're working on this Susan Adler program, 3-step program. Okay. Couples one, which is like really working for them. It's quite a simplistic one, but I've done it a few times and it's good. It's called Anything But Anger, Raising the Bar. And I would love it if, all speaking from the I statement and how you feel. And also sometimes she can't be authentic with what she's really feeling in the sessions, and that came up today, which I'd recognised that, and we had explored it a bit, but she clams up a little bit, and all this being locked down, she said she felt like she was up to a level last week when she had the baby home all week. She's pregnant as well, and they're both working from home.
It's a lot,
and
isn't it?
taken aback. She was like, oh, when I was a child, and then she started talking about that. So she said she's really up for working on something. She's never had therapy in her life, but her husband's had therapy, and it was his idea to come to couples counselling. And I think she's been having a lot of light bulb moments, and the pandemic certainly not helped. And I can see a lot of the stuff, with not feeling a good enough mother.
Yeah.
And very an overprotective mother because she didn't have a mother with the little boy, and that's been a problem in the relationship. I could see some things, what you were saying about Linda.
Yeah.
That's what she wanted. She wanted a mum, a dad, children, because she only had a dad, and a dad couldn't be present for them because they had a lot of issues, and they were sort of left on their own most of the time. And that's all sort of coming out, and she's never connected any of her background because she spoke about it as, well, that was then, and I'm grown up now. Like I'm in charge. That's how she was like, bringing it.
Yeah.
Had like a real big she said if she thinks it's been locked up, it's brought all these things that she thought was in the past. And it was really interesting when you were saying some of that stuff about Linda, especially with although she wasn't in care, but her father wasn't present. He had drug problems, so they were more or less left on their own really. And she was like emotionally sorting herself out, but she didn't know what she was doing. She said she put herself through college, uni, and there was no encouragement. That's one thing she did speak about. No one encouraged her. Her dad wasn't there. You do what you want. And she said she doesn't know why, but she wanted to have something better.
Okay. It sounds really interesting work.
Yeah, it is. It's really good work with them, actually. I really enjoy them. They're like a good couple, they're both very interested. But loads of stuff you've said has really come, and I was thinking, and I was only seeing them today as well. I thought that's a lot of what, she's gone through.
Okay, Brill. Thanks, Deb. Thanks for sharing. Okay, let's go to let's make it now about us, because I think, our clients, we're working with them and we're looking at, how they've built resilience or where the resilience is lacking and how we can work with them, as in Linda. But there's us as well. We're also, going through what our clients are going through. So the questions that I put up at the beginning, Sarah, did you get to see them? Yeah, you did. So let's just go round, and I'll go round one by one, and we'll just see what stood out for you. Olivia, you're in the top corner.
Okay.
So which one jumped out at you?
It made me think, going through those questions, it made me think about the dichotomy that we're kind of stuck at the moment, and yet we still have to move on with our lives. So in a critic in us, in me, for example, and in some of my clients, it kind of doesn't let us stop. So when everything is put on hold, we still have to move on. We still have to pursue our goals. We still have to. So if anything, it makes us work harder because we're kind of swimming against the tide. Yeah. And that made me think of that.
Anyone else feeling that?
I wrote down at the very beginning then about the inner critic. That's what question, the same as Olivia, what kind of stood out for me.
Yeah.
Kind of on the other end of the scale as well, whereas I feel like I'm non-stopping and I'm learning and I'm reading and I'm trying to do as much as I can, but then at the same time I'm kind of, my inner critic is when I'm on the phone with clients thinking to myself, oh my God, like how can I do this? Because I'm kind of feeling the same as you now, and I'm struggling on certain days with homeschooling, and then every single client I speak to is speaking about anxiety and struggling with homeschooling, and I feel like I'm kind of telling them, but then I'm not taking my own advice myself, if you know what I mean. I know it's not advice, but putting them kinds of interventions into place and stuff. So my inner critic at times saying to me, you can't do this, you're no good at doing this, but then at other times it's, do you know what, I can, and this is my purpose and this is my job. Like,
do you think it's because when you're feeling inauthentic, Dan, because you're counselling your clients through something you're struggling with? I guess that. Yeah.
I feel it myself. I feel like I sometimes I just feel like saying to them on the phone, I'm feeling your pain. I know how you feel, kind of thing. And I think I have even used self-disclosure a little bit more recently by saying I can really relate to what you're talking to with the homeschooling. And I think that's kind of strengthening the bond and strengthening that therapeutic relationship, because, you know, I'm kind of going through it, but also kind of, you're not using a session about me, so to speak, letting them know that it will end and we're all kind of in that same boat. And even as a therapist, we're all feeling it, kind of thing.
Absolutely, I agree. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Olivia. Thank you. Diane? That's lovely red hair. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, I was sort of thinking about the impact on me sort of physically. I'm really aware of spending a lot of time, you know, hunched over, either on the phone or on Zoom. And
Maybe just want to sit up. I felt like I needed to sit up.
Transfer. Yeah, but I used to do Tai Chi, you know, before the pandemic, and I'm just more aware of just the sort of limitations of not having the same outlets, and just feeling the need to do more sort of stretching and sort of positive physical things really at the moment. And the other thing was from the questions about the work-life balance, on the same theme really. I just think it's not as good as it used to be. You know, I work later, I fit more people in, and I'm just very aware that my whole life has sort of changed its structure. And and it's just a very weird kind of weekly routine really. So yeah.
It is. I think it's changed a lot for us, and we've kind of gone with it, and we're supporting others. And I don't know about you, but I know a lot myself. Very often I'm reflecting on that.
Yeah.
You know, what are you doing for self-care, Diane? Is there anything you practice?
I feel like it's something I want to do a bit more of, but I do some sort of stretching exercises at home, and we've got a dog, so that's been she's been a fantastic, you know, savior really, because you can go out and you can get the natural light, and that's my main thing really at the moment. So I want to bring a bit more in. Yeah.
Thanks, Diane. Tracy?
There's a few things that came up for me there just while people were talking, really. I think I've noticed I'm using the word we more in the sessions. I do tend to say we anyway, but I'm definitely doing more of it. We are really stuck when, you know, when I'm just really in there with them. We as a whole, as a, you know, a global we really. We are struggling, you know, we are finding this difficult. It is challenging for us all. And really, because like you were saying, some people aren't really identifying that, it's not just them. They're taking it very personally that I'm not dealing with this. So I think just that simple use of we really can help actually in the sessions. It just feels more inclusive, really. But I think for me, that inner critic stuff is around, because life is so limited. The client's life is so limited. So the sessions there feel limited as well. And I'm finding myself more and more thinking, how far can we actually go with this? What can we actually do? There's me we again. What can we actually do? Where are we going with this? Because realistically, there's a lot that we just can't get to because they're needing more from their lives. So I'm finding that a massive struggle, and that for me is what do I do then? Impacts on how I feel about how I'm working.
How do you practice self-care at the moment, Tracy?
I tend to do a lot of switching off. I tend to read a lot. Take myself off into books, binging Netflix. I'm doing it at the moment.
What would we do without Netflix? That's all I'm going to say.
I don't know. I mean, at the moment, I'm just, I say it's not really self-care, but I'm doing something different, which for me, I feel like I need to do something different. So I'm really focusing on the house at the moment, and, you know, decorating and repairing and things. So it's doing something different for me, because I just
feel like you're achieving something.
I feel like, well, it's just something different from the work, home, home. If I'm coming home, let me do something, you know, have a bit of variety, really. Different. See something, moving forward, it's a bit of progress. So just trying to find that for myself, really, and during these awful times.
All right, thanks, Tracy. Sarah?
Again, I think it's that inner critic, and I think we've spoken about it on previous sessions as well. It does really jump in, doesn't it, when we're sat there? And, you know, even sometimes I sat on a Beaker, British Infertility Counselling Association meeting the other day, and you're sitting in it and I'm thinking, doesn't mean anything to me. Doesn't mean anything to me. Oh, crikey, why am I doing this? What, you know, but they're all people that work in clinics.
Yeah.
You know, so then you start going, am I good enough to do this? And it's that whole thing, isn't it? And then you start, from that, the self-esteem kicks in, and you've got then the confidence, and it just all compiles on itself.
Okay, what are you doing for self-care, Sarah?
What am I doing for self-care? Well, I was doing boot camps indoors, so I was still stuck indoors doing boot camps. But I have just put the gazebo up in the garden, scrubbed the kids' old play mats down that were behind the shed that were green. They were minging. I've scrubbed them down. They're down on the floor now, and I've now moved to my boot camps outside in the garden.
Oh, well done.
And then I can lay there for 10 minutes after listening to the birds singing and still keep...
Most people would use this as a great excuse not to do boot camp, so good on you.
And I need it. I know what I need. I need it.
All right, thanks, Sarah. Claire?
So I put sort of a bit of both ends, and when you put, you know, like, how have you been managing it? My words were poorly.
Okay.
And it was as far as time management and boundaries around things, you know, like work-life balance, things like that. That was the big poorly part that I tend to think, because I've been working from home since back February time. And so initially it wasn't too bad. And then because I work full-time with the NHS as well, I realised that I'm not really doing very much. I'll just finish that bit. And then that led on to another and another. And then I realised not had any lunch. I've not had any lunch. And then I get a gap and I think, I'll put the washing on. And so it went on. And before I knew it, by, I don't know, weeks gone by, I'd not had my dinner till such a time. Do you know what I mean? I'd not gone shopping because I was still doing something. Like somebody else said, you know, attending different things, you know, like learning, doing things. And in the end, I was thinking, I am going a bit loopy. Do you know, like certain things, then realising that things, work life is very separate, it's very compartmentalised for me. Work life, I function okay. Home life, I don't. So things, do you know, like things I'd usually be able to manage, a bit more stressy now. Do you know what I mean? I've got a little bit less more patience with things. Things are just, do you know what I mean? People in Tesco irritating me a lot more than they would do usually, you know, and that's, but you know, little things that you're noticing and that feeling of sort of being trapped, but equally in a welcome to my world, because I have physical health problems. So I quite like my own company. I quite like being at home. I haven't got the problems that other people have. My son's older. I don't have small children. So in that sense, I'm really quite privileged and lucky that I work in the way I do, but still sort of these things popping up. And I thought, I'm just not looking after me, you know, when you kind of realise, but it's not until it built up so much that I was like, hang on, wait a minute, get a grip. So I really like music, and I was like, right, I need to treat myself. Can't afford it. I work for the NHS, of course can't afford it.
I hope the NHS don't watch this recording.
They know, and they're well aware of it.
Okay.
I'll take ownership for it. Purely Claire Nelson's opinion. So I thought, I'm going to treat myself anyway. And I bought myself some decent, you know, like earbud type things that are, you know, wireless and that. And I kept getting irritated with certain things. And I bought myself some of them, do you know them stretchy band things, you know, like tension bands or whatever. And I'd stick some tunes in my ear, and I wouldn't bother going to put all gym equipment on and stuff, because by the time I thought about doing that, usually I'd gone and put the washing on or done something else. So I thought, no, just do it as is. Yeah, whatever you feel like, stick your tunes on, off you go. Be up and down the lounge with these stretchy bands going on. So I'm not, can't boot camp style, because I'm not at that level of fitness.
You need to get in the garden like Sarah.
No, my garden's my place of meditation and looking a little bit crazy, because I go out in the back every night and I try and get some good fresh air, and I look at the stars. I like to look at the stars, you see. It's a thought place. But yeah, a little bit, see what I mean? Calm and controlled, and completely off at the other end of the spectrum.
Well, you sound like you're managing really well to me.
Some days.
You got your earbuds, you got, you know.
Some days. Check in with me another day and see how I'm faring.
Okay, thanks, Claire. Francesca?
I think for me, it was just like a little bit about like what Olivia said, a bit like kind of stuck, but like life's going on, you know. So for like my personal life, like I'm not isolating with my partner, so for me just seeing him, it's just seeing him on a walk on a morning, you know, a walk on the evening time.
Whereas so hard.
Yeah, it's really difficult. And then other than that, just like work's really busy, so just trying to do everything. And then I feel like when I see people or I talk to them, I go, oh God, I had this client today, and then I feel like mood when I see them. I'm like really excited to see them or talk to these people, and then I was like, oh God, I talked about this client, and then life's rubbish, and then I can feel myself like just talking like loads of like negativity, and I'm like, no, I need to build this positivity like back up again, you know. So yeah, I'm just kind of struggling a bit of kind of like switching off and just actually being me instead of just the counsellor or the therapist, actually just being me at times as well. So just kind of doing things that I enjoy, or, you know, things like that.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Because at the moment as well, the most, you know, I'm the same, the most people I'm speaking to are other therapists.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right, it is work a lot. It is. What are you doing for self-care? Said you go and walking with your partner. You doing anything else?
Yeah, so I walk with him, walk the dog, and then like Sarah, I do home workouts. They're just like a savior. They're just kind of zone out and just really just putting my energy into something else.
Okay, brilliant. You two are making me feel not good enough. Just saying that. Just putting that out there. I won't be going in the garden, Sarah, you know.
You haven't seen it. I don't look a pretty sight, believe me. Living it.
Well done. Thanks, Francesca.
Thank you.
Julie? What jumped out for you?
Can you come back to me? Because my dog started barking because someone's at the door. Can I go?
Yeah, no
problem. The dog. Is that all right?
Yeah, of course. I'll come back to you in a minute.
Thanks, Jo.
Jo, what about you?
Hiya. Yeah, it's weird. I think actually on reflection, and especially hearing everyone else's stuff, I think this is probably the most kind of in control of my work-life balance I've ever been, to be fair. Okay. Pre-COVID, I was a singer, still am a singer, but it was my main kind of source of income. So obviously I gigged during the weekends, and I've gigged for 17 years. It's not something that I've ever not done really. So I've never particularly, my kind of social hours have always been a bit backwards, you know what I mean? I've never had the weekends like everyone else has. And then obviously when COVID came and lockdown happened, everything just got wiped from the diary and that. And obviously, thankfully, thank the Lord that this was all, you know, in place, and I've always had the ability to kind of pick and choose how much of each that I wanted to do. So this has obviously become full-time since then. But, you know, for me to have a Friday or a Saturday night at home and just have a bottle of wine with my partner is alien to me. Do you know what I mean? That's just not something that I've ever really done before. But I think for me, I think I've been all right this year so far, just thinking back to what everyone's been saying, but definitely towards the end of last year, work was really heavy. And now and again, I just come home feeling really heavy, like with the weight of the world on your shoulders, and people are really, really struggling, you know, and especially a lot of my clients have been with me for a really long time, and you do grow really close to them. We've got really good rapport and everything, and you genuinely care about them, you know what I mean? And when you see them struggling so much, and you know, a lot of suicidal ideations, a lot of self-harm, like stuff that's just being batted around very, very normally really now, you know what I mean, that we're having to carry every day. And I don't think I give myself enough credit really that is hard stuff to deal with. And a lot of people, you know, like in one day the other week, I had a 13-year-old rape victim, a 14-year-old self-harmer, and a guy that had been doing really, really well, going up and up and up, and then suddenly crashed back down again. And I was just like, oh God. And it just feels a bit like all your hard work can become unraveled very quickly, and it's out of our control. Do you know what I mean? It's so many other things that were going on. And the thing that I keep coming back to that seems to be, it's definitely soothing for me, but I think it's working for clients as well, is that we've not got our normal like life bolsters. Do you know what I mean? The things that we all have in our life that we rely on daily to, you know, even if it's just going out for a meal or having a takeaway at the weekend or going to the pub or seeing your friends or whatever. And like even hobbies and extracurricular stuff for kids and teenagers, it's just not there. Like we've got nothing there to fall back on. So it almost feels like COVID's almost presented this massive magnifying glass for us, and we've got nowhere else to turn. Everything's amplified. Everything feels more intense. And actually, I've found that by going, look, we're all going through this together. This is normal at the moment. You know, I use the hierarchy of needs all the time, like literally daily. As far as that bottom level is just not being met at the moment. The bottom levels are not, and it's no fault of our own. It's just the situation that we're living through. And so how can we possibly expect ourselves to reach these kind of normal standards of being and living when the bottom levels just aren't there? Do you know what I mean? And there's just nothing that we can do about it. And we have to kind of accept that we need to be a little bit kinder to ourselves and give ourselves that time and focus on the stuff that we can control. And I am absolutely the worst at, I'll preach it all day long, but I am the worst at that myself, you know. And I think I put a stone
Finding
on.
A lot of that, aren't we, with us?
Oh, I think we all do. Are you even a counsellor if you don't do what you're telling everyone else to? But yeah, I think I probably put a stone on last lockdown, because we would literally cracking open the wine at 3:00 in the afternoon, you know, and as soon as the takeaway opened, it was like, yes, takeaways, woohoo! Like all our favourite restaurants doing takeaways, you know. So we piled it on, and then after Christmas, I was just like, I'm not letting this control me anymore. I'm not allowing this to have this impact on my life, where I wasn't unhappy particularly. I totally owned what I was, you know what I mean? I knew what I was doing, but it was just like, this is ridiculous. So I've been really trying to focus on exercise, and I'm doing Slimming World as well. And I've lost 8 pounds so far.
Oh, well done.
Thank you. And I've run 50 miles for charity in January, which is, I'm still limping from that. Finished that on Sunday. So just having, you know, I think I've learned a lot about myself in this last couple of weeks, that I absolutely need that reward system kicking in, and I need something that's like tangible to grab onto, whether it's a weight on the scales or it's a, do you know what I mean? And that I very much feed off that. And I think I've learned that if I don't have that in my life, and it is all work, and it's all about everyone else, then I do feel that I fade into the background a little bit, and I need to get that balance, you know what I mean? And I think I
totally agree. I think we all need a payoff, don't we? There's
absolutely,
got to be a payoff of some kind, small or large. Brilliant. Thanks, Jo.
Thank you.
Nikki?
Hiya. Sorry, I was a little bit late starting. Right. I think I resonate with what everyone's saying. I think in particular what Danielle and Joe's just said, 100% agree with you. I think the inner critic for me, when lockdown really kicked in again, should we say, because we've had that many lockdowns, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do this, juggling, you know, a full-time job in education, and then the counselling as well, which is, you know, part-time, but it's full-time and every evening and weekends. So it's basically like having 2 full-time jobs, and you're thinking, I can't do this. And it is that inner critic inside you that I found I was really struggling with, and I had to give myself, you know, a good wobble of the head and a good talking to. And I think, you know, for me, it was, okay, the work-life balance, and it has switched with regards to, with the education side, I'm working remotely now, so I've got more of a work-life balance. Good. And for me in particular, self-care, I'm a big advocate for the third wave CBT, your mindfulness, your meditation, etc. And I think what this lockdown, 1, 2, 3 lockdowns have actually taught me is you have to look after yourself. That self-care is exceptionally important, and You know, I'm lucky I live in the Wirral, so we're surrounded by water. So the morning for self-care, I'm up and I have a mindful walk, and it is just bliss. You know, just listen to the sea, listen to the birds, seagulls, just the peace and quiet. It's just absolutely beautiful. And I think for me, I've learned the hard way through life. And I just think at this moment, I've got a really good balance with regards to the self-care in particular. You know, I start the day well, I feel, with the mindful walking, you know, just that calmness. Then I go into my education role, and then I go into the counselling role. But I always end the day with meditation. You know, the calm app I absolutely love, you know, again, more mindfulness. And I think, you know, having that ability to be by the fresh air, you know, having the birds, you know, I think one of my colleagues here mentioned just listening to the birds, being in the garden, and then just listening to nature at its purest. It's, for me, it's just that brings you back to the here and now. I'm thinking, okay, what am I doing this for? And I think as well, you know, on reflection from everyone's discussion, it is, you know, it's, I don't know what it is, but I feel myself, but we're all in this together. You know, you are, there's more self-disclosure at this moment because it's relevant, it's important, and it's building up that therapeutic relationship. And for me, I found when I was watching before the slides with the integrative therapy, it was amazing, because if you don't have that person-centered start and you're really, you know, building up that rapport and that relationship and you're resonating with clients, it's really hard for them to open up in such safety and security. And I think for me, and that was a fantastic presentation, can I just say as well. Thanks. But it really just it's made me be very, very reflective of my own practice, and how I am with my own clients, because, you know, I think a lot of anger, I'm getting an awful lot of men with real rage and anger, and I'm just like, whoa, okay. And then again, building up that therapeutic, you know, we're all in this together, you know, and you just like an awful. Somebody else mentioned before, you know, the new norm is sitting in front of the screen and you're hunched over. And I was watching this morning about the 6 exercises, because the body only moves in 6 directions. So I find that before I'm doing the Zoom, I'm like this. Do my 6 exercises, thinking, okay, and then I start again, you know, give myself a little giggle. But no, I think it is about organisation, being organised, the biggest thing, work-life balance, having that self-care, having that discipline, and knowing when it's time to take 5, just to move away and contact your supervisor, whatever the case is. I think that's the most important thing that I've learned.
Brilliant. Thanks, Nikki. Thank you. Debbie?
Oh yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can't see you though, but that's all right if you don't want to put your camera on, it's fine.
I don't know why it's not working. I've tried. I'm having trouble with the internet anyway. Just like really what everyone else is saying, I've had a little bit of like sometimes like the imposter syndrome, because I've been really emotional, especially this lockdown. I've been quite emotional. I actually cried in one of my client sessions the other day, because they told me something really sad, and I just cried. I mean, I had to own it and say, I'm just feeling really emotional about what I'm hearing. And they were like, oh, I know that's fine, but I'm getting really emotional. And that's when I was questioning. I was thinking, God, my locus of internal evaluation was like going off, saying, what am I doing? You know, what can I do this? But I know I can. But it's just questioning things, I suppose, at the moment. And
it's that inner critic though, Debbie. It comes in, doesn't it? And it's like, are you sure you're professional? Are you sure you know what you're doing? Are you sure, you know? And it's like, starts making us doubt ourselves.
Yeah, definitely. And I keep having to remind myself, I'm saying, God, I went to uni for 4 years for this. I do know what I'm doing, but
4.5 years actually, Debbie.
4.5 years. Yeah. You know, and I actually, because I've always worked for myself, I've always had my own business, and working from home in this practice, and I'm only doing it part-time, and that's just enough at the moment for me. I'm not looking to build on it just yet until all the pandemic's over. I'm just looking to keep it, because my self-care is keeping it part-time and having that And I haven't got no young children here now. They're all grown up. You know, they've all gone, so we don't have that problem.
Yeah.
Tell you what I do miss, because I always kept my voluntary work on, counselling, and I miss that because they've all closed.
At the cancer centre?
Yeah, they're doing the telephone and that, but it's not very productive the way it's working out. You know, clients don't call. And I did start by doing it in the first lockdown, but it didn't really work very well. So, and I miss that. I miss doing the voluntary stuff as well. You know, that's another thing.
Yeah.
And I do actually enjoy working from home. I prefer to work from home. I actually like that. I'm more helpful than actually having to go out to a job, because you can use your own hours and do your own thing, can't you? And when I just go walking. I just walk and read. That's really all I do. And go for the shops with my parents because they were shielding and they're back in shielding now.
That's all you do?
Well, you know,
say that in a critic? All you do?
That's what I'm feeling. It's like we're just doing the same thing over and over. But I just keep looking for him. I'm thinking the weather's getting better, because in the first lockdown we could all be outdoors. I was only in the garden.
I'm not going to lie, it was lovely, wasn't it? Barbecuing and
was. Once you sort of got into it, at least you had good weather on your side, and it did make a difference. And that's what I found the difference in this one with the weather, with the winter one. It's being harsher. It's not as easy to sort of get outdoors. I mean, I do go walking every day, but it's not as easy. It's just seemed better in the summer for some reason.
Yeah, no, I agree.
You know, I think things are just ticking along. Just have to see how it plays out. But I have found a lot of clients, there's so much anxiety.
Yeah.
A lot of anxiety. Yeah. And people I've had a few, I did lose a few clients who had lost their jobs and couldn't afford therapy.
Oh, okay.
I felt quite guilty about that because I thought I could do that for nothing. That's how I felt. I thought I could, because I've always done voluntary. I used to have like 4 clients a week right through, and I've stopped.
It's keeping that value of yourself, though, that boundary, isn't it? That your private practice isn't voluntary work.
Yeah, I know. But I sort of wrestled a bit with that, because I thought, should I say that we could carry on? You know, but I didn't go cross it over, but I did mull over it. And I thought I could do like the voluntary client, but then I don't know where that would lead. So I just did decide against it. But I did have a bit of guilt over that.
Yeah, I can understand why, because it's the predicament they're in, and it's not their fault, is it? And you know, it's hard because people are getting furloughed and losing their jobs, and it's on a grand scale, isn't it? It's not. We know everyone knows someone. Yeah. You said about your clients there with anxiety, and I think it was you, Joe, earlier said about your clients with frustration, and I think that's a common theme for me as well. But what I am finding is a lot of that is because of the unknown feelings. So when you're actually attaching that, like Linda's, to past core beliefs and constructs and things like that, it's almost like there's a massive unawareness, and this is triggering all of that for many, many clients. And that inner conflict, I think, is coming out, isn't it, in frustration, anxiety, as it is for us as well. You know, being locked in, trapped, missing everybody. Yeah, we are all feeling the same.
Yeah, and with this part of the lockdown now, things have gone like stricter, where people get fines if they do go out breaking rules now. It's kind of changed in that direction, hasn't it?
Yeah. Okay, Brill. Thanks, Deb.
Thanks, Joe.
Julie, dog stop barking.
Yeah, thanks, Jen. Sorry about that. What is it? Is it triggered with me. When it first started, massive anxiety. Just being, I couldn't believe it. I think I spent the first day in bed in shock, getting over it. Just the fact that it was really happening, and that we were having to be told, all these rules, and this feeling of being trapped and told what to do, and that lack of freedom freaked me out. And then the fear of the illness and the unknown and all that. So I then went in, and then I'll go into so it was like it literally triggered me back into my high anxieties, which I've managed for years. then it triggered me into the protectiveness, you know, of my family.
Yeah.
So literally protecting my family, then doing everything I could. So like everything I could think of to keep healthy, and to look after everybody else. And then I realised I went back into a lot of my old habits of putting everybody else's needs first.
Yeah.
And my daughter really, really, really struggled a lot. And I spent most of last year helping her, and it really, a part of it really freaked me out and frightened me, but she's okay now. But it was me who helped her.
Right.
And then my mum got COVID and she's 83. So it was, I felt like it was dun, 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 dun. And I was just this fighting, running around, and I'm trying to help my mum, help my and then now I just feel burnt out, to be honest. I feel exhausted, and I feel like I've like been trying to do everything for so long, look after myself, look after everybody else, make sure we're all right. And then and I've kept my clients low. You know, I haven't had I only work part-time, like Debbie was saying, and that's all I've been able to manage. So now it's just I'm like emotional, irritable, fed up, you know, low mood, exhausted. Keep feeling I'm coming down with something, but I know it's just I'm just exhausted. You feel like you come down with something, you think, oh my God, you know, and I'm like, oh, for God's sake, I'm sick of this. So that's where I feel now. But I went literally go back into all my old patterns of what I used to do. Look after everybody first, go into that fight and flight, protective, you know. And then
do you feel like you were triggered, like a bit like Linda's story, triggered by the emotions attached to past experiences, Julie?
Yeah, I'm trying to work out what they are though. Well, kind of know where my past anxiety was from, but I don't know why. Well, yeah, I do know why I triggered, because I don't. Ultimately, I don't want to die. And I don't want any of my family to die. That's it. I want to live. I want to live my life, basically,
and enjoy it. But when you were talking and you're looking after everybody else, I was thinking, I don't know about anyone else, who was looking after you?
Yeah.
You know, that's what I was thinking.
Old, no one, no, nobody. And it's always this is a pattern I go back into, and for some reason I seem to form relationships where I'm the looker after her.
The rescuer.
I don't want to look after her. And I wasn't. I mean, I'd have, therapies and stuff. I'm into energy work, so there's a lot of energy work, and I do. I look after me by doing a lot of walking the dog, going to the park. I love going to Calderstones Park in Liverpool. That's me go to. And I take it easy, so I'll have a rest. I'll have a cup of tea. I'll have a rest. I won't rush, which has been one of the things while you're stuck at home you can do. I'm not rushing here, there, and everywhere. So just rushing and trying to just do things that at a slower pace. That's helped me.
Okay. Thanks, Julie, and thanks for being really honest. That was really honest. I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think we're looking at this with our clients, and I think what tonight's kind of, I thought this, but it's kind of evident tonight that we're all really, really going through it. Working from home, juggling everything, all for different reasons, as we've heard tonight, while still trying to support others through a global pandemic, and I think what I just said to Julie, it's like, who's looking after us if we're not, I think self-care is more important now than it's ever been. So just to wrap up, and the case study, any questions about working integratively with Linda? Is there anything, any information people want? There's worksheets that we used, which was the should list, core beliefs worksheet.
Yeah.
I think they all of them would be really hard. I mean, they're all stuff, I'm sure we've all covered it, in college and whatever, but it's just it's nice to have it there. Like, I think it made me think I should have a bit of a folder of worksheets and stuff like that just to refer to, I'm wondering whether maybe Chris could maybe put them on the Facebook group or something, and we can all kind of take them off there? I don't know if he's allowed to do that.
I don't think, Joe, that you can go on the Facebook group because you can't upload unless it's a private. Oh no, it might be, there might be a files bit. If there isn't, I'll put together a little pack and ask Chris to send it out to you.
That'd be great, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
really
It's
good.
just, and I felt like it really, like a, you know, like you said, that map where you had the person centered in the middle and then all the other things around the outside. Like I use all of those techniques, but it was really nice to see it almost as a structure. Do you know what I mean? Like all linking into each other.
Yeah. And a lot of them overlap, you know, the drama triangle and the ego come together, you know, things like that. But there's a should list with that. There's a core belief worksheet that I made, so I'll send that to him.
Have you got the, remember that All the Unsaid Things?
Yeah.
I tried to buy the book, but they ran out of stock. Have you got that on? You can email it over to me.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I'll put that with the pack for everybody else because it's a nice ending activity to do as part of CFT when you do it to yourself. Has anyone got Draw on Your Relationships? The book. It's so good. It's brilliant.
Joe?
Draw on your Draw on Your Relationships, and the first book was Draw on Your Emotions.
I've got Draw on Your Emotions. Yeah.
In Draw on Your Relationships, it's a worksheet and it's like little scrolls and it's got dear blank and then different statements. I'm frightened when you, and so on and so on. Yeah. And I do it after compassion focus therapy with clients, but they put, so dear Joe, I'm frightened when you. So it can be what they were frightened of before or what they're going to fear in the future. So it's like an ending, little tiny letters to themselves. It's lovely.
Oh.
We'll put that in the pack and then everyone can have a copy. But I definitely recommend Draw on Your Relationships. It's amazing. Brilliant.
Joe, have you read It Didn't Start With You by Mark Wolin?
No.
But I'm just reading it now because I'm on this therapy group. It's mostly an American one, to be honest, but some of it's brilliant. This one, how inherited family trauma shapes who we are and how to end the cycle. It's absolutely fascinating.
Oh, Debbie, will you put it on the page?
Yeah, I will do. Yeah.
So we can share it and have a look at it, and everyone can have a look and see if they want it.
Yeah, it's so good. It's brilliant.
Okay. That is us done then. And just any feedback you've got, you can either send it to Chris or put it on the group. It's up to you. That would be amazing. I'm just going to stop record. There we go.